Hey, welcome. Today, we're diving into a quiet revolution that's unfolding all across Africa. It's a fascinating story where a savings tradition, one that's older than most banks, is getting a serious cutting-edge upgrade. Let's get right into it.
I want you to picture this. It's a dusty afternoon in a small African town. Tucked away in a shaded corner, a group of market women are gathered, and they're passing around this old, battered notebook. They're all chipping in their hard-earned money, a practice that's been the bedrock of their community for generations. But here's the twist. The physical cash, the coins and notes, it's starting to disappear. And what's replacing it? Something entirely digital. You see, these traditional savings groups are quietly, but surely, starting to use cryptocurrency.
Now, to really get just how incredible this is, you first have to understand the tradition itself. It's known as a chama, or a vikoba, and it's basically a cornerstone of community finance. It's all built on something way more powerful than any bank vault could ever be: mutual trust.
So what exactly is a chama? Well, think of it as a collective savings plan. All the members contribute a fixed amount of money, say, every week, and then each person gets a turn to take the whole pot of money. The entire system is held together by trust, with every transaction often just tracked in a simple, handwritten notebook.
So that begs the question, right? Why would a system that's built on such a personal, traditional foundation suddenly turn to something as complex as digital technology? Well, the truth is, the modern financial world is throwing up some pretty serious roadblocks.
For so many people, traditional banks just aren't a realistic option. They can be unreliable, and even when they do work, you've got skyrocketing inflation that can literally wipe out your savings overnight. Throw in some punishing fees and the constant risk of political instability, and suddenly saving cash starts to feel like a losing game.
And that brings us right to the core question here. When you're faced with a system that seems designed to fail you, where do you turn? The answer is this quiet, underground revolution that's spreading way faster than anyone could have predicted.
Yep. They're swapping their local currency for cryptocurrency. And look, this isn't some top-down government initiative or a big corporate program. No way. This is a grassroots movement spreading organically, person to person, community to community, totally unregulated. When you really boil it all down, this whole shift is about one thing: trust. These communities, they trust each other infinitely more than they trust official institutions. And crypto gives them a way to operate completely outside of that system, bypassing all the middlemen. I mean, just look at the difference. The contrast between the old way and the new way is just stark. Those long lines and rigid closing hours, they're replaced with instant, 24/7 access. The high fees become tiny. And this is the big one. Instead of using a local currency that's vulnerable to inflation, they can use stablecoins to protect their savings. That's a huge deal. And the process itself is actually surprisingly straightforward. First, members contribute every week, but instead of cash, they use stablecoins like USDT, which are pegged to something stable like the US dollar. Second, all those contributions go into a shared digital wallet that's managed by a trusted treasurer. And finally, and this is key, everyone in the group can track the balance on the public blockchain, which basically acts like a transparent, unchangeable digital receipt book that everyone can see. This right here, this is the absolute game changer. For the very first time, so many people have a way to save their money in a currency that isn't at the mercy of local inflation or the next political crisis. All their hard work, it doesn't just melt away. But hold on, because the story doesn't even stop there. It's not just about protecting their savings. These groups very quickly discovered they could do a lot more than just save. They could actually put their money to work. And this is where we enter the world of decentralized finance, or DeFi. Suddenly, these savings circles have access to a whole new set of tools. Through things like staking, which is kind of like earning interest for helping to keep a network secure, they can make their collective money work for them, generating passive income at rates that they were completely unimaginable before. And this chart just illustrates the difference perfectly. A local bank might offer them an interest rate of, maybe 2% if they're lucky. With DeFi, they're suddenly looking at potential yields of 8%, or sometimes even more. That is a monumental leap in financial power. And this isn't just theory, It's happening right now.
On the ground, we're talking about motorcycle taxi drivers, the boda riders, earning passive income. We're talking about farmers protecting their profits after a harvest and actually watching them grow. Young people in cities are forming these digital-only savings circles. It's real.
Now, of course, this brave new world is not without its dangers. It's a quiet revolution for sure, but it's happening in a totally unregulated space, and that comes with some pretty significant risks.
And these threats are no joke. You've got scams out there promising totally unrealistic returns, you've got technical hurdles to get over, and there's the ever-present danger of losing your private key, which is basically the password to all your funds. You lose that, you lose everything. And of course, you've always got the wild volatility of the crypto market itself.
So why take on all that risk? This quote, I think, just gets right to the heart of it. It's because these digital chamas are tapping into a really deep, long-standing human need. A need for control over your own money, for transparency in your finances, and for the simple dignity of having access to a system that actually works for you, not against you.
So when you look at the big picture, this is about so much more than just money. It's about building something that lasts. It's a real shot at economic growth, at finding stability in really unstable times, and maybe for the first time, a chance to create generational wealth, one crypto contribution at a time. What all of this really shows is a powerful shift in mindset. There's this growing recognition that just waiting around for the global financial system to finally include everyone, well, that might be a wait that never actually ends. So, instead of waiting, communities are taking matters into their own hands. They are fusing old traditions with new tech, community trust with digital freedom, and they are building their own financial future. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. When ancient community trust gets fused with decentralized technology, what does the future of finance even look like? Because this isn't just a story about Africa. It's a potential blueprint for communities everywhere who are deciding not to wait for the system to change, but to just go ahead and build their own.